BK Birla College Autonomous Kalyan. I, Dr. Dheeraj Shekhawat, welcome each one of you for today's webinar on RT-PCR molecular diagnostic test for COVID-19. For this, we have amongst us eminent speaker, Dr. Smita Dharmadhikari. She is the head department of microbiology, Government College of Arts and Science, Aurangabad. I request our honorable director, Dr. Naresh Chandra sir, to kindly give his blessings.
Our esteemed speaker, Dr. Smita Dharmadhikari, all my colleagues, before we start, we welcome the speaker of the day who has accepted our invitation and will be talking on RT-PCR test for COVID-19. We all are talking, reading, electronic media, print media, everywhere. It's a very difficult time and we have to come out of it. We have to prepare for it, to live with it for some time. And keeping this in mind, Dr. Avinash Patil and all of us have planned the webinar series, making students, our colleagues, to know more about all this in a scientific way. So, Dr. Dharmadhikari, hearty welcome. And I must tell she had been one of our PhD student examiners. I think Miss Vandana Gupta, she was very happy to see, go through the thesis. And she was the Viva Voce examiner also. And with these few words, once again, hearty welcome. And I request Dr. Chitnis to say a few more words about her introduction, and then we can start with the presentation. Thank you. All my best wishes to each one of us.
Thank you, sir. Myself, Dr. Shubhangi Chitnis, will get an opportunity to introduce Dr. Smita Dharmadhikari. She is a head and associate professor of Department of Microbiology, Government College of Science, Aurangabad. She has completed MSc in 1987 and she is awarded with PhD in 1995. She has total 33 years of teaching and 25 years of research experience. About 45 to 50 research publications are there in peer-reviewed journals of international and national reviews. She has participated in various international and national conferences. Her 8 students awarded PhD. Her area of specialization is molecular genetics and medical microbiology. Such an eminent personality is there with us. Now I request Smita Madam to start her lecture.
Thank you very much. Dr. Naresh Chandra sir, thank you very much for organizing committee.
Hello.
I am going to explain you the fundamental concept and principle and working of RT-PCR, a molecular diagnostic test that is used to identify the infection that is COVID-19. As you know that it is an emerging issue. COVID-19, it is a contagious and highly progressive infection which is caused by the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2. This particular virus actually it is a third zoonotic coronavirus as an animal origin. First outbreak, it was identified in Wuhan, that is in China in December 2019. On 30th of January, World Health Organization declared the outbreak as a public health emergency of international concern and on 11th of March as a pandemic. The roots of infections, if we see that how this particular disease it is spread or it infects the human, mostly that is through the droplets, small droplets which are coming out in the through the sneezing and the coughing. This virus is found to be remain for hours or days on the contaminated surface. So just by touching the contaminated surface, the virus can enter inside the body. This particular infection is at the start it is contagious during the first 3 days after the onset of the symptoms, and although the spread may be possible before the symptoms that can appear in the latter stage of the disease. Coming to the symptoms of this particular disease, the coronavirus is affecting the respiratory tract. It causes both upper and lower respiratory tract disease. The incubation period that is found to be 2 to 14 days, that this is the time interval between the date of contact and date of onset of the symptom it is there. The common symptoms that include the fever, cough, fatigue, shortness of the breath, and loss of smell and as well as taste it is there. Complications may include the pneumonia and acute respiratory distress syndrome. This virus, it also invades the central nervous system through the olfactory route it is there. Molecular and physiological studies reveal that this virus grow better on primary human airway epithelial cells are there. There is a high risk towards the comorbid persons, that is they are having blood pressure, heart problems, diabetes. So special medical attention is required in such types of the peoples. The recovery time for this particular coronavirus disease is found 2 weeks approximately in case of mild cases and 3 to 6 weeks in case of the patients with severe or critical illness. Now coming to the structure of this coronavirus. This coronavirus is belong to the realm Ribovira, family Coronaviridae, and order Nidovirales, and the genus SARS-CoV-2. These viruses, they are spherical, pleomorphic, envelope viruses with bulbous surface projections. Dimension-wise, when we consider, the virus particle diameter is around 125 nanometer, diameter of the envelope is 85 nanometer, and spikes, they are 20 nanometer long, club shapes, and they are creating the image of the solar corona, and that's why the name of to the genus it is given, it is a corona. Genome of this particular virus is a positive sense single-stranded RNA genome, and nucleocapsids of helical symmetry, which is wrapped in a icosahedral protein sheet. The size, it is a 26 to 32 kb. On the genetic map of this coronavirus, there are near about 27 proteins they are there, which are including important structural proteins like RDRP, which is nothing but RNA dependent, RNA polymerase, and 4 other structural proteins. You can see very well in this particular diagram, which is a diagram of coronavirus. That is the viral envelope it is there, consisting of this lipid bilayer it is there, in which the important proteins are the membrane proteins, envelope that is the E protein, spikes that is the S proteins are there. The spike proteins they play, these are the spike proteins. These spike proteins they play very important role for the infection of this virus to the human body. This here about there are 74 surface spikes are present throughout the outer side of this viral envelope it is there. These spike proteins they are called as a class 1 fusion proteins are there, which is a homodimeric and have 2 important subunits are there, S1 and the S2. The S1 subunit is S1 subunit, okay, it is called as the head, or it is a receptor for binding domain RBD. S2 subunit, it is a stem which is used for anchoring the spikes in the viral envelope it is there. Besides the S proteins, other 2 important proteins, they are E proteins and the M proteins are there. They are important in forming the viral envelope, And because of these two proteins, the shape it is retained for the virus. If you look inside this particular diagram, okay, you can see that this is a structure which is called as a bits on the string. This bits on string is representing the viral genome, that is a positive sense RNA it is there, which is covered with the nucleocapsid proteins, that is the N proteins are there. That's why this particular organization is called as the arrangement is called as a bits on the string. So all these lipid bilayer envelope, then membrane proteins and nucleocapsids protect the virus when it is outside the host cell it is there. Now coming to the viral replication cycle. So I want to focus on the few steps of this virus replication cycles are there. Okay. You can see the route of entry, how this particular virus enter inside the human body. So the receptor side from virus, it is the S proteins, that is a spike protein, and the receptors from human side, these two receptors, they have a affinity towards each other and they bind with each other, and then the proteases, they do the proteolysis, and this results to bring certain conformational changes on the spike protein, and this results into the activation of membrane fusion within the endosomes. And likewise, this virus, it releases into the inside the cell. Now, as it is a positive stranded RNA, which is having 5' capping and 3' poly A tailing, therefore, it is directly function as a messenger RNA, and it starts translating and producing the first important protein, that is the RNA dependent RNA polymerase. This RNA dependent RNA polymerase is a key enzyme of the viral RNA replication, and then it starts replicating. Positive strand RNA replicates to produce the negative strands, and similarly it undergoes the cycles of replications and transcriptions. They produce the near about 7 different nested RNA molecules. These nested RNA molecules, they are producing these different proteins. That is spike proteins are there, envelope proteins are there, matrix are there, and then the stage of transcriptions, translations, then post-translational modifications. For that purpose, these viruses, they are using the rough endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, and ultimately after morphogenesis, they enters into the vesicles. Okay, their maturation takes place, exocytosis takes place, and then these viruses, they release outside the cells, and again they are ready to infect the second cell. Coming to the important point, that are the diagnostic tests. There are two types of the diagnostic tests. One, they are the molecular techniques, and other, they are the serological techniques. The molecular techniques, which are nothing but the NAT, that is a nucleic acid amplification tests are there. They are more suitable than the syndromic testing and the CT scan for the accurate diagnosis of the disease, because in molecular techniques, the target, that is the nothing but the genome of particular virus, that only we are going to identify. World Health Organization recommended the RT-PCR as an assay method used to detect the presence of specific genetic material from this pathogen it is there. Serological testings, they are nothing but the antibody test, okay, where instead of direct identification of the pathogen, it is an indirect method where we are testing the antibodies which are produced if the immune system has encountered by the antigen. But for this purpose, after encountering the antigen, the cells, they are producing antibodies which take up the time 9 to 28 days after the infection. So if we are considering the serological diagnostic test, then we have to wait for this particular period. But meanwhile, what happened? The infection that can spread within the community and for that particular persons, and that's why molecular testings, they are more better than that of the serological test. Now for these molecular testings, the samples which are required, which are the common samples that are used for testing purpose, that is the swab it is used, that is the oropharyngeal or the nasal swabs they are used. Then nasal aspirates, they are used by injecting the saline solution into the nose, and then the bisection mechanism the sample it is collected. Tracheal aspirate, it is carried out by using the instrument which is called as a bronchoscope, which is a thin tube with the torch, and when this particular tube is inserted via mouth, it reaches to the lung, and from that it sucks the particular sample. Sputum, it is a thick mucosa that get accumulated in the lungs and come out with the cough. And it was observed that for RT-PCR, sputum sample is found to be the best for identification of the pathogen as compared to the other samples are there. For antigen antibody reactions, the blood sample generally it is used. Now coming to this molecular techniques, okay, that is the basis of this RT-PCR, it is the fundamental or conventional PCR method. So first it is important to understand what is this PCR. It is a long form of it. It is a polymerase chain reaction which is invented in 1983 by Carey Mullis, an American biochemist at Cetus Corporation. The principle of this PCR, in 2 lines only I want to tell you that the starting material for this is a very small, that is a nanogram concentrations of the DNA it is there, and by series of temperature cycle, this nanogram concentration of the DNA is amplified to produce millions to billions copies of the DNA molecule. So this PCR nowadays, it is a very common practice in medical laboratories and in clinical laboratory research for the diagnostic purposes, then in research for paleontological studies, that is you can do fossil analysis also, okay. Then in case of the criminal forensics, also this particular PCR it is you, all of you know that DNA fingerprinting techniques, okay. Now, these are the very common and basic requisites to run the PCR. You need a thermal cycler, and the reaction mixtures need these various reagents. Very important is a target DNA, okay, which you want to identify. It is called as a DNA template. Then another key enzyme of this PCR, it is a Taq DNA polymerase, which is a extremozyme that is obtained from a thermophilic organism, Thermus aquaticus, and hence the name given, it is a Taq. 2 templates are used because it is an in vitro polymerization, and therefore to initiate the process of polymerization, 2 primers are used. One, it is a forward primer, and other one, it is a reverse primers are there. It is a polymerization, so extension activity it is there, and therefore the NTPs, you know that 4 building blocks, ATP, GTP, CTP and TTP are there, which are required for synthesis of complementary strand using single-stranded DNA as a template. Buffers, they are required for giving the stable environment to enhance the catalytic activity of DNA polymerase. Cofactors as an magnesium ions or manganese ions, they are required. Now in next particular figure, I will explain you these important stages of these thermal cycles, which are the denaturations, annealing, and that of the extension activity. You can see this particular diagram, okay, where you can see the starting material, which is shown in green color. It is a double-stranded DNA. So the first stage of the cycle, it is a denaturation. So the DNA is heated 94 to 96 degrees centigrade. Strands will get separate. It is a denaturation. Priming, it is carried out by the forward and the reverse primer. And then third stage, the extension activity, it is carried out by the process of the polymerization using the Taq DNA polymerase enzyme. So at the end of first cycle, 1 copy of the DNA produce the 2 copies. So these 2 copies again denatures to produce 4 strands. So 4 multiply. So likewise, amplification is taking place in exponential rate, which is indicated at 2 to the power n, where n stands for the how many times, how many cycles you are running. The lower diagram, it is a thermal cycler, which is a fundamental instrument that is used because this particular thermal cycler is controlling all these 3 temperature cycles, denaturations, annealing, and that of the elongation processes are there. Now coming to our diagnostic test, that is a RT-PCR. So this real-time reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction, or RT-PCR. It is an golden standard frontline test for the COVID-19 because it is a perfect diagnosis method where we are going to diagnose the disease just on onset of the infection, and therefore we can easily control the infection. It is also real time. In conventional method, we are not going to monitor it with respect to the time, but in case of the RT-PCR, which is a real-time RT-PCR, we are going to monitor the rate of amplification with respect to the time. So that's why it is also called as quantitative RT-PCR method. Originally, the method when it is used, the radioactive isotopes, they are used as a marker. But there are so many difficulties, all of you know, for handling of these radioactive isotopes, and now they are replaced by the special markers. Most frequently, that is the fluorescent dyes are there. This is a design for RT-PCR. You can see that the starting material may be the DNA or maybe the RNA. Very important in PCR is that only the DNA they can amplify, and that's why in case of RT-PCR, our genome is RNA in nature, and therefore the first essential step before amplification is a reverse transcription, where RNA will get converted to the DNA. RNA has to get converted to DNA, otherwise it will not get amplified. Okay, either it is a semi-quantitative or a quantitative real time. Then either it is a one step or the two steps. I am going to explain you that later on. From analytical point of view, how the analysis it is carried out, how the amplification it is determined, and for that purpose, the reporter genes which are used, they are the probe based, which are the labeled with the fluorescent dyes are there. Now this I want to tell you that we are going to set two types of the assay. One, it is a one step assay, or the two steps assays are there. In one step, we are going to add all reagents which are essential to carry out the test at one time only, which is a PCR amplifications are consolidated into one reaction, okay, which provide the rapid and reproducible results for high throughout the analysis. But what is the two-step analysis, where independently we are going to carry out two reaction, reverse transcription followed by the amplification. You can see in this particular diagram, the upper diagram, it is the one-step reactions, where in PCR tubes we have added everything. So what are the essential requisites? Already I had explained you, the NTPs are there, templates are there, okay, enzymes are there. Then both enzymes, they are added here, reverse transcriptase and the TACU polymerase enzyme. So what are essential all reagents, once only they are added and they set for amplification. So in one step we say it is a RT plus PCR. RT stands for reverse transcription and PCR it is a polymerase chain reaction. While in the second particular figure, it is representing the two-step reaction, where first reverse transcriptions has been carried out and then followed by the amplification. In reverse transcription, the viral RNA will get converted into the copy DNA, that is the cDNA, by the enzyme reverse transcriptase, which is also called as RNA dependent DNA polymerases. They are doing reverse transcription of the RNA to synthesize a copy DNA, and then using this template, the daughter strands will get synthesized, and then they are subjected for the amplification by PCR. Now again, this particular component, it is very important, that designing of the primers. What are the primers? The primers, they are of the short single-stranded oligonucleotide sequence of the known gene it is there, because we are using primer as a torch to identify the presence of specific genes on the viral RNA. Mostly the three important genes they are considered for designing the primers. They are RDRP, that is RNA dependent RNA polymerase, envelope protein, that is the E gene, and nucleocapsid proteins, that is the N genes are there. They are used for designing the primers. Now here you can see that if we want to set up the RT-PCR for coronavirus, what are the steps that has been considered to carry out this reaction? The first, as I said, that we want to collect the sample from the nose or the throat or the sputum. Then we have to give some chemical treatment to this to remove the certain substances like the proteins and the fats. And then we have subjected it for using the standard kit for extraction and purification of the RNA from the sample. Then this extracted RNA, it is subjected to the very important step which is called as a reverse transcription, which is carried out by the enzyme reverse transcriptase, which convert the RNA to the copy DNA and then to the double-stranded DNA. And then it is subjected for amplification. Now what happened when amplification it is taking place in these PCR tubes, okay, the priming, denaturation followed by the priming and followed by the extensions activity. And inside the PCR reaction mixtures, as the double-stranded DNA formation it is taking place, that is a new copy of viral DNA, they are built up, the mark labels, they are attached to DNA strands and they release the fluorescent dyes. These important dyes which are used for labeling purposes, they are the probes, they are the TACMAN, molecular Nikons, Scorpion probes and the cyber greens. So as the hybridization it is taking place, the probe displacement reactions will take place and this results into the dissociation of the dye from the probe, and dissociated dye have a ability of fluorescence. So fluorescence, emitted fluorescence, that is catch up by the computer tracking machine and they are recorded there. And once the fluorescence it is coming out and is reaching over a certain level, this confirms that yes, hybridization it is taking place, amplification it is taking place. So we can say that the virus that is present in the sample. When we are setting the RT-PCR reaction, it is very important to set the two important controls to carefully selected to ensure the reliability of the assay processes and to identify any experimental errors they are there. These are the negative control and the positive control. In negative control, we are not adding the template. Okay, template it is not added, and this negative control it is needed to eliminate the possibility of a sample contamination on the run assay. Then what is the positive control? The positive control is needed to verify that the assay run is performing as intended and is used on every assay plate. And this positive template is nothing but a DNA molecule of known gene. Okay, and the concentrations of that is a 50 copies per microliter, where you can use the nucleocapsid genes or you can use the RDR, that is a RNA dependent RNA polymerase genes. Okay, the positive template control does not include the RNAs, P targets, and will result an undetermined for that particular marker. Now this is one reaction mixture that I want to show you because the standard operating protocols they are different and they are as respect to the what type of the kits that you are using in your laboratory for diagnosis of this RT-PCR. So this is one example of the RT-PCR mix kit, that is a in vitrogen superscripts TM3 platinum, where they had performed this in the one-step PCR analysis. You can see the components. Okay, there is a water molecule, reaction mixtures, magnesium sulfates, and then it is a multiplex PCR. The meaning of multiplex PCR means we are using more than one primers, okay, to judge the more possibility for presence of this viral RNA. So there are two types of these forward primers and two types of the reverse primers are there. Similarly, the probes also they are added, and the two important enzymes, that is the reverse transcriptase and that is the TAC polymerases, they are incorporated. The volume wise, if you consider in very micro quantity, the samples, these reagents they are added. So the total volume they have prepared is a 20 microliter, and at the onset of this particular, we have to add 5 microliter of RNA sample, which is our template, that is a target to start this reaction. Now, whatever I had explained you, this is a diagrammatic representation. This diagram is representing The first strand, it is a RNA, okay, which is obtained after extracting it from the patient sample. It is subjected to the first step of the reaction, that is a reverse transcription. You can see that the oligo-DT primers are there. Now, why oligo-DT primer? Because the messenger RNA is having two important terminal sites, that is a 5-methylguanosine capping and poly-A tailing. That is the polyadenine molecules, they are present at the 3' end of the RNA, and therefore complementary to poly-A, oligo-DT primers, they are used to initiate the process of reverse transcription. Once initiation had taken place, that is a priming has taken place, this enzyme continue the process because it is RNA dependent DNA polymerase enzyme is there. And what it will do, it will synthesize the DNA from the RNA. So this is called as a cDNA. C stands for complementary DNA. Okay. Now, for some period of the time, DNA-RNA hybrids will remain, but these RNA enzymes will resolve this problem and they degrade the RNA molecule. Then the single-stranded cDNA undergo the process of polymerizations to produce the double-stranded copy DNA. Now, this is the material which is representing the viral RNA. It is there, which is copied to the DNA, and then it is subjected for the process of amplification. It is there. Now, this is actually what happening inside the PCR tube. During this process of amplification, denaturation, that is strands will separate, okay, annealing of the primer, and then extension activity by the Taq polymerases. So as the hybridization means as the double-stranded DNA formation processes, this particular probe which is attached to this molecule has to displace itself. It will get cleaved down, and these fluorescent molecules, it will release outside, the dye will release outside, which fluoresce, and the emitted fluorescence, it is catch up by the system, because every atomization there in this particular system, it is controlled by the softwares are there. All signals, they are automatically catch up, and the output of the signals, they are expressed on this screen with respect to the time, and that's why they are called as a real-time amplification process. It is there. Now, how we are going to interpret the results? This is one pattern of interpretations that I want to tell you. The interpretation is nothing but what we want to detect the accumulation of the fluorescent signals. Because when we are getting the fluorescent signals, it is a positive indications of the amplification, and positive indications of the amplification is nothing but the presence of RNA in the given sample, which is expressed by the CT value. CT, it is nothing but the cycle threshold, which is defined as the number of cycles required for the fluorescent signals to cross the threshold. Okay. CT values, they are inversely proportional to the amount of target nucleic acid in the sample. Means what? Lower the CT value, greater the amount of the target nucleic acid. More and more amplification, more and more fluorescence that is emitted outside, the CT values, they are found to be reduced. For example, the CTs which are less than 29, then we can say that there are strong positive reactions indicative of abundant target nucleic acid in the sample. When CT is there of in between 30 to 37s, they are positive reactions indicative of moderate amount of target nucleic acids. And the CTs of 38 to 40 are weak reactions indicative of minimal amount of the target nucleic acids, means we can say representative near about, we can say what are the negative tests are there. So the standards, they are given, and one has to use these standards for the interpretations of the results are there. Now, why this particular RRT PCR, they are more advantageous over the conventional PCR methods. In RRT PCR, the amount of amplification that we are going to be monitor with respect to time, which is not possible in case of the conventional PCR, and that's why this is a quantitative PCR method is there. In conventional PCR, what happened? We have to start the process of amplification, we have to allow it to complete the cycles, and then we have to remove the samples and test it for amplification by running the gel by agarose gel electrophoresis, and then under the UV trans eliminator using gel documentation systems, we are going to see the amplification process. But in real time, we are doing it by analyzing the melting curve by monitoring the CT value. As CT value decreases, rate of amplification is found to be increases. So by running the parallel reactions, in case of these PCR thermal cyclers, we can run the parallel reaction. Generally, 96 well microtiter plates, they are used to set up these reactions, so that at a time we can test number of samples in case of this RT-PCR reactions. And then not only number of patient samples, but per sample also we can make different combinations using the different types of the primers, that is the primers of RNA dependent RNA polymerase, or the primer of envelope protein like white, and we can monitor the performance of each primer with respect to the reactions. Parallelly we can monitor this, which is not possible in case of the conventional PCR methods. And also, as the positive sense RNA, it is the used directly for the process of transcriptions. So in this case also, in real time processes, we can also monitor the amount of gene expressions, that is the capability of particular RNA for their gene expressions, that can be also measured. So again, why you are using RT-PCR? Because as compared to the conventional PCR, or as compared to the what you can say serological test, the RT-PCR techniques, they are highly sensitive and they are specific, and they can deliver a reliable diagnosis as fast as 3 hours. And that's why early diagnosis, they are very significant to identify the infection in very early stage it is there. So compared to other available virus isolation methods, real-time RT-PCR is significantly faster and has lower potential for contamination or errors, as the entire process can be done in a closed tube itself. So it continues to be the most accurate method available for the detection of the coronaviruses, which are accurate, they are sensitive, they are precise, and therefore they are found to be the good diagnostic method for the COVID-19s are there. So the COVID-19 had opened the research platform in front of all researchers. So the lot of opportunities are there. We can work on various aspects of this infection, as well as we can work on the structure and functional organization, pathogenicity, and most important, the researchers, they can work, presently they are working, but still they can work on remedy of this COVID-19 in terms of their contributions in the vaccine developments, monoclonal antibody developments, and so on it is there. So just I want to say that is a stay safe and stay positive, think positive, and so that the positive minds responsible to enlarge your research mind. Thanks to all helpers who are working day and night against the corona. I express my sincere gratitude towards the Honorable Director Naresh Chandra Sir and Honorable Avinash Patil Sir and organizing committee for giving me an opportunity to express my view in front of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Smita Madam. Now I request all participants to post their questions in chat box. We will take one by one. Do not start your mics. Keep them mute only, even your videos. So please start your questions in chat box.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. So I think the topic is very clear. Now I request Dheeraj madam to give vote of thanks.
Thank you, Smita ma'am. I express my sincere thanks to our speaker, Smita Dharmadhikari madam, for sparing her valuable time and giving us the information about today's topic. I express my sincere thanks to our director, Dr. Naresh Chandra sir, for giving us the blessings. Our principal sir, Dr. Avinash Patil sir, for his constant support and encouragement. My sincere thanks to our management team and the IT department of our college, Smita ma'am, Dinah ma'am, Kajal ma'am. Thank you once again, and a very large thanks to all the dear participants for making this event successful. Thank you once again. Have a good day.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Dr. Manindra